توسع بالسن الهامش. هذه جريمة العصر هذا. حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York, Ammar Benjama, has reiterated Algeria's call for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip as a first step towards achieving peace and stability in the Middle East. President Abdelmajid Tebboune has said that elections in Libya are the only guarantee of a definitive solution to the problem of the legitimacy issue in Libya. The members of the African Union High-Level Committee on Libya meeting have in Brazzaville held the significant political progress made in Libya. As Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has reiterated that Palestine's decision to the UN would help implement the two-state solution, scores of Palestinians have been killed in the Israeli bombardments. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Thmani. Algeria's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York, Ammar Benjama, has reiterated Algeria's call for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip as a first step towards achieving peace and stability in the Middle East, as Yabikar reports.
Speaking at a meeting of the UN Security Council on the threats facing international peace and security, Mr. Benjama said the Middle East is on the verge of collapse amid the recent airstrikes targeting Iraq and Syria.
The Middle East stands at the precipice of collapse. The recent airstrike targeting Iraq and Syria over the weekend are likely to further exacerbate the already precarious situation. It may potentially lead toward a further escalation. And in this context, we reaffirm our steady support for the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security of both Iraq and Syria.
He reiterated Algeria's constant support for the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security of Iraq and Syria.
We reaffirm our steady support for the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security of both Iraq and Syria. The brotherly people of Syria and Iraq deserve to live in peace and prosperity.
The Algerian representative to the UN reiterated Algeria's call for restraint and for avoiding escalation, stressing that the region cannot bear additional tensions and that the use of force is not and will never be a means for peace and stability. The Algerian ambassador recalled that history proved that force only causes ruin, instability, and hostility. Algeria pleaded in favor of dialogue and common action to iron out differences and promote prosperity.
Today, we advocate for dialogue and collective action to bridge differences and foster shared prosperity. Let us set aside notion of violence, deterrence, or punishment, and let us work hand in hand toward an appeased Middle East. Madam President, genuine stability in the Middle East necessitate a comprehensive addressing of the root causes that underpin instability. We must invest in long-term solutions to prevent further suffering and pave the way for lasting peace in the region.
Regarding the situation in Gaza, which is still subjected to Israeli relentless bombardments, Algeria said the Palestinians, like all peoples around the world, yearn for peace and prosperity, stressing that the Palestinian cause is a cornerstone of peace in the Middle East.
The Palestinian question stands as the cornerstone for this endeavor. From the outset of aggression against the Palestinian people, particularly in the Gaza Strip. My country, Algeria, on many occasions sounded the alarm on the risk of regional spillover. Regrettably, the situation has evolved into a devastating reality, compelling us to redouble our effort to halt the escalation across the entire region. The peoples of this region, like all inhabitants in the world, yearn for peace, yearn for development, and yearn for prosperity. It is high time for this cradle of civilization to reclaim its stability. The initial stride toward this goal lies in an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
The Algerian ambassador to the UN concluded his statement by saying that it is high time that the cradle of civilizations regains stability, and the first step towards stability lies in an immediate ceasefire in Gaza.
Now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, has discussed with his Serbian counterpart, Ivica Davic, the upcoming session of the UN Security Council on the situation in Kosovo. In a phone conversation, the two diplomacy chiefs also tackled the latest security and political developments in the Sahel region. You're listening to Radio Algeria International. You're listening to Radio Algeria International. Sorry for this technical mistake. And now, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has said in an address to the African Union High-Level Committee on Libya held in Brazzaville that elections were the best way to put an end to the Libyan crisis and the only guarantee of a definitive solution to the problem of the issue of legitimacy in Libya. In his speech read on his behalf by Prime Minister Nadir al-Arabawi, the President of the Republic expressed Algeria's full support for the project of inclusive national reconciliation in Libya, assuring that it would spare no effort to be made as part of the committee's mission. Algeria reiterates its full support to the inclusive national reconciliation process and will make every effort as part of the committee's missions in cooperation with the regional and international bodies concerned for an effective contribution to the success of the national reconciliation process. And once again, I reiterate the call to our Libyan brothers to work together to fulfill the aspirations of the Libyan people, notably in terms of security and stability, and to give them the opportunity to choose their representatives and to build a future which unity and reconciliation will prevail away from any foreign pressure, interference, or diktat. The President of the Republic insisted on the imperative need to put an end to any form of foreign military presence in Libya, particularly with regard to the necessary withdrawal of all mercenaries without exception. He said that the use of force in Libya would only exacerbate the crisis, jeopardize the future of the country, and endanger the future of the Libyan people, who would be deprived of their right to stability, security, and prosperity, and will result in the deterioration of the situation in the region, which is affected by the damaging effects of instability and political division in this country, which has unwillingly become a haven for armed militias, terrorist groups, and drugs and arms trafficking criminal networks. The President of the Republic once again called on all foreign parties concerned by the Libyan question to adhere to this constructive process and to commit themselves to respecting Libya's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the independence of its decision-making. I reiterate my call to all the parties involved in the inter-Libyan process to mobilize around such a constructive process and to respect the Libyan sovereignty and the unity of its territories, as well as its freedom and decision-making. A definitive solution to the crisis can only result from a process that guarantees the national sovereignty principle and to enable the Libyan people to address their disputes and to safeguard their inalienable rights on their natural resources by ensuring the management of the benefit of the Libyan people.
والتنمية والازدهار.
The President of the Republic expressed his deep conviction that the capacity of the AU High-Level Committee on Libya to contribute positively to implementing a peaceful solution to the Libyan crisis so that the brotherly Libyan people can preserve the unity of their territory, regain peace and resume their leading role within the AU within a climate of stability and development. Now, Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi, representative of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, at the meeting of the African Union Committee on Libya, has met or had a meeting together with the chairman of the AU Commission, Moussa Faki. The talks focused on the issues of the agenda of the forthcoming AU summit and evoked the current situation on the African continent, particularly in the Sahel, Libya and Sudan, as well as ways of strengthening the role of the Pan-African Organization in the face of the current challenges. Mr. Al-Arbawi also met with the President of the Republic of Congo, Denis Sassou Nguesso, who handed him in a message from President Abdelmajid Tebboune. Mr. Al-Arbawi has met with the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General to Libya, Abdoulaye Bathily, with whom he discussed the latest developments in Libya and ways and means to support the UN efforts for the political settlement process. The meeting took place in the sidelines of his participation as representative of the President of the Republic. The UN official said he greatly appreciated the commitment of the Algerian President to supporting the process of national reconciliation in Libya, calling on the Libyan belligerents to benefit from Algeria's experience in this area to find better solutions to put an end to the Libyan crisis. The President of the Libyan Presidential Council, Mohamed El-Menfi, has said that Libya is concerned about achieving national reconciliation to strengthen the chances of holding inclusive elections. In this line, Mr. El-Menfi said that he will hold the first National Reconciliation Conference in Sirte with the support of Libya's partners, notably Algeria, who has displayed its sincere desire to do its best to accelerate Libya's achievement of an inclusive reconciliation to end this year's long conflict and division. Now, the members of the African Union High-Level Committee on Libya meeting in Brazil, Congo, have hailed the significant political progress made in Libya towards the organization of the presidential and parliamentary elections. Asya Bikar. The brotherly Libyan people are called upon to decide on their future and to overcome the current deadlock of restoring the legitimacy and by unifying the Libyan institutions to enable the Libyan to choose their representative and to meet their aspirations so that they can regain stability and security. I think there is a will among all the Libyan belligerents to work together and to put the country's interests above and to unite their efforts to secure the African and international support in order to organize elections and to achieve national reconciliation. Let's say it again, that the committee has hailed the significant political progress made in Libya towards the organization of presidential and parliamentary elections. Asya Bikar has this in this report. In the Brazzaville Declaration to accelerate the peace and reconciliation process in Libya issued at the end of the 10th session of the committee, the members insisted on unifying the country through inclusive national reconciliation to strengthen socio-political cohesion, expressing their support for the unification of the national institutions in response to the aspirations of the Libyan people and the implementation of the AU decisions and international
international relevant resolutions. The members of the committee once again called on all Libyans to adhere to all efforts to achieve reconciliation in a comprehensive, inclusive and constructive manner, stressing the importance of strengthening consensus, unity and social cohesion to end the crisis in the country. The committee members reiterated their call on all foreign parties to cease and stop interfering in Libya's internal affairs, as this may jeopardize the fundamental interests of the Libyan people and their legitimate aspirations for stability, peace, prosperity and development, stressing the necessary withdrawal of all foreign fighters, foreign forces and mercenaries in Libya in accordance with the AU decisions and relevant international resolutions. The members also hailed the efforts made by the Libyan Presidential Council through the adoption of a national strategic vision for reconciliation, in addition to the holding of the first preparatory meeting of the National Reconciliation Conference between the Libyan parties in January 2023 in Tripoli, in the wake of preparatory meetings held in various regions of Libya. In this context, the committee welcomed the agreement of the Libyan parties on the holding of the National Reconciliation Conference to be held on the 28th of April in the historic city of Sirte, calling on the AU to continue to support the Libyans with a view to ensuring the success of this operation in a timely and effective manner. The committee also hailed the commitment of the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, who urged his special representative in Libya to work closely with the AU with a view to restoring peace and stability in Libya.
The Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, General Said Shinkriha, has been received by the Saudi Minister of Defense and Armed Forces, Prince Khalid bin Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, as part of his visit to Saudi Arabia as representative of the President of the Republic, Chief of the Armed Forces and Minister of the National Defense, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. Mariam Barshi has the details.
The senior army officials of the two parties took part in the meeting devoted to the assessment of the military bilateral cooperation between Algeria and Saudi Arabia, who share historically brotherly relations. In a statement made during the meeting, the Army General thanks once again the Saudi authorities for the hospitality they granted to the Algerian delegation. He also held the strong historic bilateral links existing, the unconditional support of Saudi Arabia to Algeria during the glorious war for the national liberation. The Army General highlighted the will of the National People's Army to promote military cooperation between the two countries at high levels and to extend it to other fields of common interests.
The Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, has received a delegation representing the gas exporting countries forum led by its Secretary General, Mohamed Hamel, as part of the follow-up to the preparations for the 7th summit of the forum's heads of state and government, scheduled to take place in Algiers from the 29th February to the 2nd of March. This is Radio Algeria International.
And welcome to this new edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. Children's Mental Health Week is an annual campaign dedicated to raising awareness about the importance of children's mental health and well-being. This week-long event aims to promote positive mental health among children and young people, provide resources for parents and educators, and reduce the stigma surrounding mental health issues in children. In this program, we'll explore what Children's Mental Health Week is all about, when it occurs, how you can get involved in it, its history, and ways of preventing it. What is Children's Mental Health Week? Children's Mental Health Week is a vital initiative that focuses on the emotional and psychological well-being of children and adolescents. It provides an opportunity to address the challenges that young people face when it comes to mental health, including stress, anxiety, depression, and other issues. The campaign emphasizes the importance of early intervention, open communication, and support networks for children and their families. During this week, various organizations, schools, and communities come together to educate children and adults about mental health, provide resources, and encourage positive mental health practices. When is Children's Mental Health Week 2024? Children's Mental Health Week is observed in the world during the first week of February. In 2024, it will take place from February 5th to February 11th. How to get involved in it? Here are several ways you can participate in Children's Mental Health Week and support the mental well-being of children. First, engage in conversations, start discussions with children and young people about their feelings and emotions. Encourage open and non-judgmental dialogues to help them express their thoughts and concerns. Second, organize activities. Schools, communities, and youth organizations can plan activities and events that promote mental well-being. These can include mindfulness exercises, art therapy, or workshops on managing stress. Third, spread awareness. Use your social media platforms and other communication channels to share information about Children's Mental Health Week. Highlight the importance of addressing mental health from a young age. Access resources. Utilize resources provided by mental health organizations and educational institutions to learn more about supporting children's mental health. Share these resources with parents, caregivers, and educators. History of Children's Mental Health Week. Children's Mental Health Week was established to address the growing need for awareness and support regarding children's mental health issues. The initiative recognizes that early intervention and a supportive environment can have a significant impact on a child's mental well-being. Over the years, it has grown into a worldwide campaign that encourages everyone to prioritize children's mental health. The Director General of the World Health Organization, WHO, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, tells us more about the initiative.
1 in 8 people live with a mental health condition. Yet, around the world, far too many people cannot access quality mental health care. The barriers to access are many: a lack of available services, poverty, violence, stigma, and discrimination. Some people with mental health conditions, especially from marginalized populations, can also face human rights violations, including coercion, abuse, or neglect in care. On World Mental Health Day, WHO calls for mental health to be respected as a human right. We call on all countries to invest in mental health, particularly in community-based services, because there is no health without mental health.
Children can have the same mental health conditions as adults, but their symptoms may be different. Know what to watch for and how you can help. Mental illness in children can be hard for parents to notice. As a result, many children who could be helped by treatment don't get the help they need. Learn the warning signs of mental illness in children and how you can help your child. Mental health is the overall wellness of how you think, manage your feelings, and behave. A mental illness may also be called a mental health disorder. It is patterns or changes in thinking, feeling, or behavior that causes distress or gets in the way of being able to act. Mental health conditions in children are most often defined as delays or changes in thinking, behaviors, social skills, or control over emotions. These problems distress children. Mental health conditions disrupt their being able to act well at home, in school, or in other social settings. Common disorders among children. Mental health disorders in children may include the following. Anxiety disorders in children are outsized fears or worries that are hard to control. These worries disrupt children's being able to take part in play, school, or social activities. Diagnoses include social anxiety, generalized anxiety, and obsessive-compulsive disorders. Attention deficit or hyperactivity disorder. Compared with most children of the same age, children with ADHD have trouble with paying attention, acting on impulse, being too active, called hyperactivity, or some mix of these problems. Autism spectrum disorder is a neurological condition that appears in early childhood, often before the age of 3. Children with this disorder have trouble talking with and connecting with other people. Eating disorders are defined as an unhealthy focus on an ideal body type, disordered thinking about weight and weight loss, and unsafe eating and dieting habits. Eating disorders such as anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder can result in not being able to act emotionally and socially, and they can cause life-threatening physical complications. Depression and other mood disorders. Depression is lasting feelings of sadness, low or irritable mood, and loss of interest in typical activities. These get in the way of a child being able to do well in school and interact with others. Bipolar disorder results in big mood swings between depression and extreme emotional or behavioral highs. These highs can cause risky or unsafe actions. Post-traumatic stress disorder. It is long-term emotional upset, worry, scary memories, nightmares, and acting out. This is in response to violence, abuse, injury, or other traumas a child has had or come into contact with. Schizophrenia is a disorder in perceptions and thoughts. Schizophrenia causes a person to lose touch with reality, called psychosis. It most often starts in the late teens through the 20s. Schizophrenia can cause a person to see or hear things that aren't there, called hallucinations. It also can cause odd thoughts and behaviors. What are the warning signs of mental illness in children? Warning signs that your child may have a mental health disorder include sadness that lasts 2 or more weeks, changes in being social or staying away from others, hurting oneself or talking about hurting oneself, talking about death or suicide, having outbursts or being very moody or testy, out of control behavior that can be harmful, big changes in mood, behavior, or personality, changes in eating habits, loss of weight, trouble sleeping, getting headaches or stomach aches often, trouble concentrating, poor performance at school, or not going to school at all. What should I do if I suspect that my child has a mental health condition? If you're worried about your child's mental health, consult your child's healthcare professional. Describe the behaviors that concern you. Talk to your child's teachers, close friends, relatives, or other caregivers to see if they've noticed changes in your child's behavior. Share this information with your child's healthcare professional. How do healthcare professionals diagnose mental illness in children? Mental health conditions in children are diagnosed and treated based on symptoms and how the condition affects a child's daily life. To make a diagnosis, your child's healthcare professional might suggest that your child see a specialist. This might be a psychiatrist, psychologist, clinical social worker, psychiatric nurse practitioner, or other mental health care professional. Seeing a specialist might include complete medical exam, medical history, history of physical or emotional trauma, family history of physical and mental health, review of symptoms and concerns with parents, timeline of how the child has matured, school history, talking with parents, talking with the child and watching the behavior, mental health tests and questionnaires for the child and parents. How is mental illness in children treated? Common treatments for children who have mental health conditions include psychotherapy, also called talk therapy or behavior therapy, involves talking with a psychologist or other mental health professional. With your children, psychotherapy may include playtime or games. During psychotherapy, children and teens learn how to talk about and manage thoughts and feelings. They learn new behaviors and coping skills. Medicines. Your child's healthcare or mental health professional may suggest a medicine as part of the treatment plan. This medicine might be a stimulant, an antidepressant, an antipsychotic, or a mood stabilizer. The healthcare professional most often reviews the hoped for benefits, possible risks, and side effects of the medicine. Children's Mental Health Week plays a crucial role in emphasizing the significance of mental well-being from young age. By participating in this campaign and promoting positive mental health practices, we can contribute to the well-being of the next generation. And with this, we come to the end of this week's edition of your program, The Health Magazine. Do join us next week for a new edition with another health topic.